You want to talk sanders. They really can get expensive. 400, 200, 200, 500, 500, 500, maybe? I don't know. It's been a long time, and I don't keep track of that. I don't cry about it every day. I cry about it once when I buy it and then enjoy the utility. To start with, you're probably not going to start with any of these. If you're smart, you'll get a fest tool, even if it's one of their palm sanders, because that'll teach you what a good quality tool feels like, and it's not that much more expensive at that small scale. But the next sander you want would just go right up the line, and to get in small places and to really move icky stuff fast and see what you're doing, and to carve and to make it flat and to make it finished. This is about my third generation of one of these. It's a 4x24 or 4x20, yeah, 4x21, I think. Anyway, and this is a Makita. It's their big 4-inch wide belt sander. I probably have had a tool like this for 30 years, a long time. But they wear out, and they wear you out. That's why I got this big guy. Try to do a big table with a tool like that, you can, and that's what most people will do it with. But boy, there's no substitute for a big old tool like that. Once I got this big tool, I kind of use those where they're supposed to be used now in conjunction with a big tool like this. This takes care of all the flat work. So this tool raises up. It's old. You have to kind of help it get up so you don't load it before you raise it. This is a Minimax 55, L55. And it'll sand about 96 by 30. But it has a push-through back here. See, there's nothing keeping you from pushing that all the way back and just feeding it through forever. So you could set up rollers back there and sand panels. But for sanding a long table, I like to put a roller table here or one here and roll it in and turn it around and bring it back in. So this is real handy for that. You can sand anything, doesn't matter how long it is, as long as you just keep poking it through that way or keep poking it through this way. That's why it's sitting this side of the door so that I can get something. And you can see where I've rubbed tables against the wall, bringing stuff in. I go through 50 grit, and then 80 grit, then 220. I have a 400 grit, but I just never use it. Everything else gets palm sanded with the Rotex after that. This is the Makita 1.1 belt sander. And it is a remarkable tool. I have a brand new one in a box for when this one craps out. I've probably had 5 or 6 of these because I do carving and live edge work. And you can work on either side of this tool. You can work in this little area that's loose there for rounding stuff. And you can work on the platen side for making stuff flat. You can clamp it in a vise and use it as a mini standalone tool. And generally, I just have one grit. I run an 80 grit. That's it. It's just because anything that this makes, I'm going to be going over with this next. So if it leaves any marks, this covers it up after that. This just knocks it out. And this next one is a Makita, but it's a 3/8 wide belt. Also same length as that one, 21, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think these are all. This is 24. This is a 21. Yeah. This is a real easy belt to get on and off. Has a little platen on both sides, so you can sand on either side. These are kind of moderately priced. I Can't remember how much they were, but it didn't seem extraordinarily expensive. Makita's a good tool for a price. Well, you can get by without any of these, but if you want to sand in little places or do a lot of carving, this obscures your view when you're carving. You can't see what you're carving. With this little guy, you can see. And so, and here, you can get whatever this guy couldn't get. You know, something on a round where there's a lot of spindles, this can get in between the spindles. And then, since I said in between the spindles, this also goes in between the spindles a little bit. You get from both sides, you can get around, and you can remove excess glue with something like this. I mean, it doesn't do much work in this particular configuration. This is also a Rotex. It's the RO90. So now it's more kind of like a little brother to one of these. What I like about the Rotex is it's a grinder. You know, you can make a circle in your work, just hold it still, and it'll just make an indentation. In fact, on some of the seats that I do, where I carve out the seat and dish it out on some of the chairs, I actually use something like this with a real heavy grit and hog that out with one of these. But then you put it on regular sand, and it's just a rotating sander, oscillating sander. And these are, you know, they all have tremendous horsepower. This is the 125, this is the 90, this is the 150. It just covers more area. You know, if you're covering something really big, you don't want to do it with that. It's like shine your floor with a toothbrush. You're not in the military here, get something bigger, you know? So you can see this is a hook and loop. And one of the drawbacks of hook and loop is you kind of ruin the hook eventually. And those come off, you know, just like this one did. And you can replace them, and they're about $40. That's not cheap. So when your sandpaper starts doing this, that's a real good sign you've lost your hook and loop on the edge. And this one's been on there a long time. This one's still good. See, edge, still good. This one, still good. I don't have the paper on very straight, but it's pretty good. I don't know what kind of sander that is. It's a deck sander or something. All I know is it's really good for making something flat and getting two boards to fit together like that, joining pieces. I don't have a joiner, and so this kind of acts as that. And this one is so old that changed the belt with a rubber hammer. And I keep it outside because I've taken all the safety equipment off of it, and it throws dust everywhere. But I kind of need it to have all of that stuff off of there in order to be able to get to all the sides. So, you know, this spring doesn't even work anymore, so. I'm more fortunate than most woodworkers in that I have a sawmill and forklift. And even though my tools aren't brand new, they're serviceable. You know, they do what I want to do. This little guy right here, that's the Workhorse right there. For all the edge work I do. For all the live edge stuff, that's it. For all the butterflies I do, that's it. And then for all the surfaces, that guy. If I had to part with all those others, I'd keep that.
Do you remember the first sander you got, like ever?
Yeah, it was a Black & Decker. I've thrown away a lot of sanders, but I don't throw away Festool. I give those away. I retire them and give them to somebody that, you know, needs a tool that happens in my environment, you know. If you break down your big slabs from raw stuff like I have with a real good cut, there's not much sanding left because the blade cuts so fine, you know, so smooth. And the next sander is that with a 80 grit. And then the Rotex is a must for end grain. You know, if you're still working on this face right there, that's end grain. The straws are straight out at you like that. And those are real tough to knock down. So I knock those down. After cutting with the 80 grit on that, I can go straight to a 180 grit on this, and that's the finish grit on the end. I don't have to touch it up again on the end. But on top, we go into 320 On the end, not so much. You can burnish any of the tung oil pieces. The trick is go in and decide if the topography is good enough for you, if it's an old piece. If it isn't, sand it. Sand it, and if you're going to sand it all down to wood again, because those pieces that you leave are going to look different. You know, look weird once you put the next coat of finish on. So once you get all flat enough for your taste, that grit you're leaving off with from cutting, say the surfacing machine is a cutter, and it's a sharp cutter, but it has overlap lines. You move to the 50 grit on the stroke sander, do the whole piece, then the 80 grit, and then the 220. And anything after that, you're probably going to have a 180 to go back and clean up any of that stuff like a 50 grit mark or an 80 grit mark. Because 220 would just wear out too fast. The pads cost about $1 a piece. You can get off-market stuff. I have some. What I mean by off-market is it doesn't cover the holes up properly on the dust extractor. And so those are kind of backup pads that I have if I run out of my Festool pads. And price is an issue, but not all pads are created equal. Some of those Chinese pads will just plug up really fast. And so I don't know what it is about the Festool pads, but I have found it's more economical to stick with Festool pads than to keep gambling on other products that you're going to have to sand through in order to know how bad they are or how good they are, you know.
Gotcha.
And I really don't like the ones that holes don't match up, because then I have to wear this for all that sanding. And this kind of occludes your vision a little bit, so you may not catch everything if you do that. But it's necessary for air if you want to breathe. This is the first generation. This is not too old. I just haven't used it much. This is one. I've had 4 of those. This is one of like 7. One of like, I've had 3 of those. I don't know, maybe 400, 200, 200, 500, 500, 500, maybe. I don't know. It's been a long time, and I don't keep track of that. I don't cry about it every day. I cry about it once when I buy it, and then enjoy the utility. If you like the videos, please subscribe. It helps me do more videos and bring more content to more users. Thank you.